a chance to ask a question, and I will decide who's going to ask the questions. So right, and I'll just pick people at random anyway. What I would like to ask you to do is to just stick your hand up when you've got a question to ask. Then if you want to introduce yourself, give us your name, and also how you're affiliated to the club. You know, are you a supporter, are you a pie seller, or whatever, you know, and then we'll know who we're talking to. That's great. So who wants to ask, would you like to say a few words before we
No, we'll crack on.
Crack on then, okay, that's fine. Who's got a good question? Right, the gentleman there with hand up.
Oh, I'm not a gentleman, but thank you for the club.
Well, I'm assuming the best anyway.
Colin Colebrook, long-term season ticket holder. I also have the honour of banging the drum.
I'll go with that.
Steve, thank you very much for coming along, and obviously congratulations on 4 wins out of 4. I'm sure we all want to agree with that. Thank you. Now, I've noticed recently that both you and Brian Kennedy have come up with some... Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can do, yeah, sorry.
I've noticed recently that both you and Brian Kennedy have come up with some fine-sounding words about the club's long and illustrious history, and also retaining the name Sale in the club's name. Now, I'm delighted to see that, because to me, rugby's all about passion and playing with pride for the shirt on your back. And I just wonder then, with that in mind, if you can give us your assurance that the shirt for next season, which no doubt is being planned now, will proudly display the date 1861 and the name Sale Shirt.
Can everybody hear me at the back, or do we need the mic? No, I'm pretty sure that the shirt for next year will have 1861 and Sale on it, so your fears can be calm there. It will go back on the shirt. I think the 1861 was taken off in 2006 or 7, Swanee. And when we get new kit sponsors, and you know, to a very large extent, they, with the corporate sponsors, they certainly have a say in what we do to a large extent, and they thought it would go well without the Sale on it, and it hasn't worked. So it was something we tried in error, but next year we'll have Sale and the 1861 back on the shirt.
Thank you very much.
Right, another question? Somebody else? Gentleman here.
Oh, sorry. Hi, Martin Gledhill, been a fan for about 4 years. First year season ticket holder with my lad. If you could go back to the beginning of the season, what would you do differently?
Well, I think if we're going to be candid in here, then we need to go back a bit further, really. Go back to the end of last season and look where we got it wrong. And in reality, it's the first time, in my opinion, that the owners are looking at longevity of the club. And in doing that was that move to Salford, which I know to a lot of people has been a disaster, but I think in the long term of the club's standing, we had to move from Edgeley Park for many reasons, not just financial reasons, but reasons of the ground not hitting the criteria on a regular basis, and the opportunity to come there, to go to the new stadium, came upon us. And I think we're right in doing that. And we'll no doubt there'll be questions about the infrastructure around that later on. On the rugby side of things, I made the decision with Brian and Ian that we needed to get the big commercial deals done, as in the stadium, the main sponsors, etc., etc. And we decided to go for a new director of rugby in Brian Redpath. And we thought up until probably September, October, that we'd got it right. We didn't obviously start well with September not going well at all. And our forward pack was certainly lacking its any resolve. And what we'd built over the last 2 years beforehand was a highly competitive side, you know, that would have a go at anybody on its day. And we realised quite quickly that Brian Redpath's a very good coach, but he wasn't the number one that we thought he was. And Brian and I and Ian took the decision that we needed to get somebody with more experience. And John Mitchell came on the radar. Now, like him hating, John Mitchell's an ex-All Black international coach, fantastic reputation in getting results, and I think that's what we needed at the time. I think we'd gone 8 games without a win, and we asked John to join us, and we put Brian Redpath in a very difficult position where we'd moved him aside, but we didn't want him to leave, and that wasn't the financial reason as in paying him off. We know he's got a lot of qualities, but it's a difficult job heading up a rugby club. You know, there's only 12 jobs in this country, and it's very difficult. And Brian's settled into that role now as the number 2, as in a technical coach, which he's good at. John Mitch arrived, signed a 6-month contract with a 2-year contract on it, and after 1 month in it, had a very, very personal problem back home in South Africa and relinquished the contract on us. So it caught us all cold, really. We thought we'd found the right person to come in to take us forward with Brian Redpath working with him, and then a month into it, he didn't get cold feet because of the precarious situation we were in. He got it's personal reasons, and I don't think, you know, due credit to John, we don't have to go into those reasons, but he effectively packed up and went home. He came back 2 weeks later, and his heart and mind isn't on the job, and I made the decision while Brian was in America to ask John to leave, and that's how the pre-Christmas went. In doing all of that, obviously we're not winning many games. We managed, with the help of Dave Seymour, Sam Tuatupo, and 1 or 2 others, Cueto, etc., to keep quite a good team spirit in the place. You know, it's not easy to perform when the management above you look like the lunatics are running the asylum, where in reality we made a mistake with Brian in that top position, and Brian knows exactly what I'm going to say tonight because it's the truth. And then we didn't see on the radar what John Mitchell was going to do, basically come, not for him, and just walk out on us. So we Brian and I sat down, and Ian Blackhurst and the coaching team, Pete and Brian Redpath, and we made a decision that I would become the chief from the chief exec to be director of rugby again, and that's the way it's going to stay for the next 2 years. I'll be coaching as director of rugby. Brian Redpath will be head coach. Pete will be the forwards coach working with me, and we will be bringing 2 other coaches in the pre-season. Probably a defensive coach and a kicking skills coach, because we do operate on a lean coaching budget. So if anything I could do again would be get that selection right in the first instance. My reputation around the country coaching selecting wise is, you know, I get 8 out of 10 right. When I was at Northampton Saracens, you get generally players who come who want to be with you, and I thought we'd got it right this year with the likes of Richie, Danny joining us in the summer. But again, you never get, what's the old saying, you don't know people till you live or work with them, and that's where we found ourselves. So answer the question, I'd have got my selection right in the first place on the director of rugby.
Good, thank you, Steve. Any more questions? I hope so. Gentleman there, yes. Sorry, does everybody need the mic?
You might not need the mic on the inside supporters inside year 2000. When you spoke a moment ago about lack of bite at the start of the season, my question was, and I asked it, how has Osterkopf getting on? Because I always felt he added something last year.
Yeah, Andre is a guy who, when I spent my time in Russia, Andre is a young lad who is more prominent at 6, so I had him playing in the lock last year. There's been a drama in the country with a procedure that surgeons have been doing on particular shoulder injuries, and it's prominent in rugby. Andrew Sheridan operated twice, Henry Faree career ending by it, Keenan Mile 2 operations on same joint. Andre is one of them. They've had to have double operations through no fault of the surgeon, just the procedure that they were doing wasn't robust enough to stand the rigours of what we do. Andre had, after the game last year where we qualified for Europe at Gloucester, we decided to send him to the specialist, who's world renowned, a guy called Len Funk, who decided that he didn't need the operation. He didn't get through pre-season well. In July, they decided to operate, and the post-trauma recovery time is about 15 weeks on that, which would have made him ready for the autumn internationals when Richie Gray would go with Scotland. Unfortunately, the operation wasn't successful. We had to operate again in October on him. Andre's in everything but physical contact at the moment. Full running, full weights, and this week, in tomorrow, he starts doing his line-out work. So we're hopeful that Andre's going to be fit and ready in about 2 weeks to play, because we do miss his physicality.